On Purpose Leader podcast, history hero Boss Reeves. There are certain people whose life and stories are legendary. You may have seen different action movies and all kinds of sagas, but there is a unique story in the life of Boss Reeves. Born enslaved in Arkansas, he was raised in that environment, and his captor trained him and allowed him opportunities to use guns to hunt with. And at times he would go to county fairs, and because of learning how to shoot, he would win those fairs. And as he got older and got better and better, an argument broke out with his enslaver, and he was able to escape from him, and he fled into the wildlands and the areas between Arkansas and Oklahoma into the Indian territories of the Cherokee, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, the Creek, and the Seminole. And while there, he continued to hone his craft, not only in shooting, but in tracking and learning the languages and the cultures of the people that lived there who embraced him. And then as time went on, there was a man by the name of Judge Isaac Parker, who was tasked by the president at the time to bring peace and order to those wildlands, the Indian territories, and the parts of Arkansas, which a lot of outlaws would hide out in. And at this point in time, he had grown so well fluent in the languages and also in his craft as a marksman and as a tracker. Judge Parker knew that he had picked the right one, and indeed he did. He, along with some 200 other marshals, had to patrol those regions. And Boss Reeves himself patrolled one of the most dangerous and vast regions of those Indian territories in Arkansas, upwards of 75,000 square miles. But rest assured, Boss Reeves was that guy, because he made over 3,000 arrests. And not all of it was gun and blazing. He used cunning and strategy. There was 2 murderers one time that he had heard and tracked them to their home. And while they were away from their home, he disguised himself as a vagrant, as a vagabond that was hungry, and he pretended to just wander to the house and knock on the door where they were gone. And their mother was there and showing him pity, fed him and let him sleep in the corner. And he went there and fell asleep and waited for the 2 of those criminals to come back. Well, when they came back, he drew his gun before they did, and he arrested both of them on sight. There's another story, a gentleman who was a horse thief by the name of Tom Story, who was going back and forth, and he tracked him to an area where the water of a river bent, and he camped out there for hours waiting for him to come back. And then sure enough, when the guy came back, quick as a flash, he hopped out and he tried to draw his gun, but Boss Reeves was much faster and got the drop on him. And let's just say that came to the end of his life and his horse stealing. One event, there was a lady named Belle Starr, who herself, with all her criminal activity, she heard that Boss Reeves had got his warrant and decided to turn herself in rather than face having to deal with the true Lone Ranger, Boss Reeves. There are many other stories that he would track and find criminals and bring about law and order, and his reputation grew far and wide, even across those thousands of miles. No one wanted to have to deal with or face that justice. Well, Boss Reeves was a man of integrity, man of honor, but he had some sorrows in his life too. His own very son, Benny, sadly got into altercation with his wife. His son, Benny, had murdered his wife, and so a warrant was issued for the arrest of his own son. And the other lawmen being aware of it, yet and still, he said, "I'll take the warrant." And he took the warrant for his own son. And sure enough, he brought Benny in to face justice. And that's the kind of man he was. Well, Boss Reeves is the stuff of legend. And when we think about how the nations of people that have lived here before America is today, and then the western expansion of people settling, it was people like Boss Reeves that helped to make America have some sense of order in the best of sense. And when I think about some of the life lessons from Boss Reeves, number one, you can rise above your origins. No matter where you were born, you may have been born in the slums, you may have been born in a broken home, you may have been born to abuse. Boss Reeves' story lets us know you can rise above your origins. Second thing you learn from Boss Reeves is the importance of honing your craft. He just didn't overnight develop those skills as a marksman, but he learned how to shoot over time. He learned how to track people over time. He learned even how to hunt, and he learned the languages of the people over time. And because of that, that served him well. The other thing we learned from Boss Reeves is that he built bridges. He wasn't about burning bridges or putting up walls, but he built bridges with the cultures of people so that he could live and move, and they respected him. And because of that, he can go into some of the most dangerous places and function and work. Two more things we learned from Boss Reeves is that you can have strategy under pressure. During those moments of life and death, rather than react, he had a sense of strategy to go about making those arrests, to move across these vast domains, how to develop partnerships and allies, and how to move and be effective. And last thing we learned from Boss Reeves, and there's so much more we could say about him, is that our purpose can overwhelmingly go beyond our pain. Yeah, Boss faced some hard times in his life, being born into enslavement, living in the Badlands, but he clearly was a man designed for his job, and his purpose prevailed over his pain. So if this story resonates with you, maybe you already knew about Boss Reeves, maybe you hadn't heard much about the specifics of his life, and I encourage you, there's a lot of good books out there about Boss Reeves. Follow me for more stories like this with the On Purpose Leader podcast.